And for me, in that moment with Lexi, the I go first meant I had to actually look myself in the eye and go, you are coming in just as hot as she is, Tracy. All this time I'm talking about how she's so spicy, she's so this, she's like too much, she's over the top. I was coming in over the top. I was coming in braced and prepared for her to be over the top. I was meeting her where she was at, but she was meeting me, and we were doing the same thing, and it was a cycle. It was chicken and egg. But you know what? At the end of the day, I got to go first. That's influence. Yes, today on the podcast, we are talking about, are you ready to stop controlling your reactive dog? The shift that changes everything. I know if you've been struggling, you need to hear this today. Let's get into it. Ready to have a calm and peaceful life with your dog without the stress of those fear-based behaviors? Hi, I'm Tracy, and I've been there, overwhelmed by all the conflicting dog training advice and unsure of what to do next. But now I help dog lovers like you simplify your life with your dog by building confidence naturally, fostering trust, and addressing those fear-based challenges. So, if you're ready, stop chopping those chicken wieners and let's get to it. Hey there, friend. Before we get started, I need to tell you that we've got happening right now, and you don't want to miss it. The Calm Down Dog Bootcamp is back. Yes. And I know what you might be thinking. I don't have time for something else. I've already tried all the things. I don't want another overwhelming thing. There's so much going on in the world. Yeah, I know. I get it. And that's good. It's good because we're not doing more. This isn't more. This is actually less. Less noise, less overthinking, less micromanaging, less hustle. Bootcamp is simple. It's 3 days, March 17th through 19th. It's 1 hour a day. If you miss it live, which you don't want to miss it live, but if you happen to miss it live, you'll get the replay. No fancy equipment required, not endless homework, no complicated protocols. Just show up, listen, and apply. Make even just one small shift. And that's it. That's not it. We're not adding more drills to your life. We're simplifying how you show up in your life that you already have. Making small shifts that are going to make all the difference in the world. And the best part, it will make living with your dog so much easier. And you can use what you learn almost immediately in your everyday. Just small shifts in your everyday. It's not theory. It's practical. It's leadership that you can feel in your body. And your dog's going to feel it too. Listen, you don't want to miss this. Come on over, beyondobedience.ca/bootcamp. Sign up today. Hop in that free group. Get a jump on everything. We're doing a reset. We're having fun challenges. We're giving away some stuff, all the things. Come over there. Forget about what's going on in the world right now for just a moment. Just take an hour and a half out of your day and just be with your dog. Have some fun. I'll see you there. Well, hello, my beautiful friend. It is Tracy. Welcome to Beyond Obedience, the podcast. Super duper welcome. If you are brand new, hey, applause for you. Thank you for being here. And if someone sent you to this podcast, do me a favor, pay that forward. Grab another dog friend, bring them along. Say, hey, come check out this podcast. It's really important to me. I really am hoping to reach more and more dog lovers like you and I, because I want to make this perfectly clear. This isn't meant, and I know I say it all the time, I'm going to say it again, it's not meant to replace obedience. I'm not saying do this instead of obedience. What I am saying is the stuff that we talk about here in Beyond Obedience will make your life easier with dogs. If you like obedience, you can still do obedience. If you're like me and you're like, obedience isn't really my jam, you can live a harmonious life with dogs very, very easily once you start to really not only get this stuff, but really start to implement it in your life. And it's not hard things. It's tiny little shifts. It's tiny little things that we do that make things a little bit easier. And a lot of it starts with understanding the dog, 100%. A lot of it starts with understanding the dog. I have mad respect for dogs. And so a lot of it comes from that. But the other side of that equation is understanding us and understanding our influence. There's two parts to this equation, right? We're a team. It's not just the dog, it's the dog and me. It's who I am. It's how I'm showing up today. and understanding that you have the ability to influence your dog. Brings me back to a great Nelson quote. If you don't know my mentor, Nelson Hodges, from the Canine Human Relationship Institute. I had to do the letters. I had to look up and do the letters CHRI, Canine Human Relationship Institute. Look him up. He's an amazing guy. He's my mentor and good friend. I mean, I'm calling him a good friend. If he doesn't think that, he has no choice. We're best friends. Anyway, one of his quotes that I love to remind myself of is this idea of control yourself and influence the dog. Don't try to control the dog. Now, we talked about control in the last episode, this idea of micromanaging and controlling and all of that stuff, and how a lot of what we do is actually about releasing that control, right? This need to control our dogs. And it's challenging. Control is really, really hard because we live in Humansville and we're told to control our dog. Right? Get your dog under control. And we slap all this equipment on them and put leashes and long lines and all the different things that we need to do. That has to happen. It's how we live in Humansville. There are leash laws. We don't have that. We don't have an option, but we do have an option on how we choose to use that equipment, how we choose to show up, and how we choose to show up in the moments that don't include the equipment. That means how we move throughout our day. What are we doing throughout our day? Because everything you do is influencing the dog. Everything you do is influencing the dog, right? So you might as well think about that influence, right? So that quote, control yourself and influence the dog. It reminds me of the story of Lexi. Stop me if you've heard this, if you've heard the story about Lexi. So Lexi was a shelter dog. And back in the day when I had my brick and mortar business, I was trying to help out the local shelter. And I ended up with this dog named Lexi, who admittedly was overstimulated, under-socialized, all the things. She was a little powerhouse bully breed and loved people. I will say that. She loved people, but she loved people in that, like what I like to call knucklehead sort of a way. You know what I'm saying? If you know, right? You know that knucklehead sort of way that like in your face, muzzle punch you in the gut and then jump off the wall and grab a toy and shake the bejesus out of it and then come back and knock your legs out, like that kind of thing. Like just like her love hurt. Right? Let's just put it that way. Her love hurt. And I had agreed to not only have her for like some daycare and stuff and test her with my dogs, but also to like actually keep her out of the shelter system. We knew that inside the shelter with all the other dogs and the craziness and the shenanigans, right? There's a lot of anxiety and all of that stuff with shelter dogs. That's not the shelter's fault. That's just the reality of what it is. It's, chemical perfume of stress and cortisol and all of the things all the time. And so we knew that she wasn't doing well in that kind of environment. So I had agreed to let her stay at my place for free. I learned to regret that decision, but that's another story for another day. Anyway, Lexi was something. First of all, we did all the testing with Lexi with the dogs, and she wasn't great with dogs. She was a let's scrap first and ask questions later kind of a dog. But oddly enough, the vibe that I got from her wasn't like, I want to kill this dog, but just, I don't know how to play with you. And the only way I know how to play with you is to muzzle punch you, push you in the side, hip check you, and knock you around. And so we had put a muzzle on her to make sure she wouldn't, hurt any of my dogs. And we exposed her to my newfs. And they told me very quickly that they hated her. My newfs, these big, gentle giants and don't get me wrong, like back then, my newfs were very young. The girls now are 13, so this is quite a while ago. But my newfs were very, very young. And they were still playful. Like it's not like they were like always couch potatoes. When they were with other dogs, they still played. They ran around. They liked playing with other dogs. And so I brought them out with Lexi, and Lexi was too much. She was like, came in too hot. She tried to like immediately punch them in the side and then play bow and then hip check them. And it was just too much. And when the dogs would try to correct her, or they would not correct her, they just disagreed with her. They were like, not liking that. That's when she would immediately turn to, well, now I want to kind of eat your face. And we were grateful that she had the muzzle on. Anyway, my point is, we did a ton of work with Lexi. We got her comfortable with the muzzle on, because we knew that was probably going to be her reality. Muzzles aren't bad, by the way. Muzzles are a great tool. Muzzles help the human stay calm. That's what muzzles are for. Muzzles help the human stay calm. So we knew that was going to be a thing for her. So we got her really used to muzzles. We got her to the point where we were like, muzzle up, and she just knew it was part of her equipment. We got her out pack walking with dogs so that she learned to work with dogs and be with dogs without trying to play with them. She really did start to understand, this isn't playtime. You're just going to go for a walk. And she was able to be around lots of dogs in that format. We tried getting her to relax around other dogs, which she couldn't do. I mean, she did it, but she never got to the point of full relaxation. She would get antsy. Anyway, the point is, we had done a lot of work with this dogs, and I had lots of different trainers, because I had run seminars and whatnot in between. So different trainers were working with her and giving suggestions and all the thing. And I ended up like, we just weren't making progress, where I'm like, I still don't think this dog is going to find a home. Like, who's going to want this dog? This was still like a dog that was going to take a lot of management, like lots of equipment, lots of management. It just wasn't becoming easy. And I ended up calling Nelson, and well, that's not true. I sent him a message first, and he was like, let's talk on the phone. So I told Nelson all about her. And the very first thing he said to me was, Tracy, I think you forgot one of my number one rules. I was like, what's that? He's like, you got to control yourself and influence the dog. You're trying too hard to control her. And I was like, no, I'm not. And then went, oh, yes, I am. And the other thing that he pointed out to me was that I was coming into the facility with dread in my heart when I knew I had to deal with Lexi, because I knew that she was going to be hyperactive. She was bouncing off the walls. She was going to be doing other things. I literally would come and my nervous system would fire up, because I'd be like, oh God, I go see Lexi. And so I ended up meeting her where I thought she was. But the funny thing is that I would come into her space with that energy of, Lexi. And then she would meet me where I was. And so she would amp up to that level. And then we just kept on pushing each other up until we were both really frustrated. Right. And so that conversation with Nelson, which, when I got off the phone with him and I was like, control yourself. like a petulant child, like, whoa, control yourself. Like, hung up the phone, was like, whatever. I am controlling myself. And then the next morning I went in and I was like, oh, I'm not controlling myself. So I ended up putting a sign up on Lexi's suite, and it said, don't let Lexi's behavior influence your behavior. And I would go and read that sign, and then I would be like, right. And I'd have to take a breath and then, proceed with Lexi. And things got a lot better. I started like way less control, and I started to see Lexi for who she is and all of that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, I don't know the outcome of Lexi. I know people are gonna be like, did Lexi, you want that, like, that arc of the story where I was like, I realized the change that she needed, and then I became that change, and then she went on to have this brilliant life. Sadly, I don't know what happened to Lexi. We admittingly had a falling out with the Humane Society. So over some things that were, let's not get into it. It doesn't matter. The point is, Lexi went back to the shelter we have, and I'm not sure what happened. I don't know if she ever, I mean, I know it was a no-kill shelter, so I know that she might still be at the shelter to this day. I have no idea. Anyway, womp womp. This is a terrible story. The whole reason that I wanted to speak on this story and tell you about this story and Nelson's quote about controlling yourself and influence the dog is because I really want to make sure that especially for those of you joining us in the boot camp or coming to work with me inside the Fearless Framework, if that's what you're doing, I want to ask you this question. And that is, are you ready for your dog to change? And I know, of course, you're going to say, duh. Yes, I'm 100% ready for this change. And I'll say to you, great. But are you ready to change? Because those two things are not the same. Are you like me and going, control yourself with the rolling your eyes? Or are you like, I get it now. I am ready to change. Because control says, if my dog would just blank. Influence says, I go first. Let me say that again. Control says, if my dog would just do whatever, if my dog would just walk past this dog, if my dog would just learn to whatever, that's control. Influence says, I go first. And for me, in that moment with Lexi, the I go first meant I had to actually look myself in the eye and go, you are coming in just as hot as she is, Tracy. All this time I'm talking about how she's so spicy, she's so this, she's like too much, she's over the top. I was coming in over the top. I was coming embraced and prepared for her to be over the top. I was meeting her where she was at, but she was meeting me and we were doing the same thing, and it was a cycle. It was chicken and egg, but you know what? At the end of the day, I got to go first. That's influence. That's also leadership, but it's influence. So we default to control because it feels safer, right? It feels more active, feels responsible in Humansville. Got to control my dog. It may even feel productive. It looks like more commands, more management, more corrections, more micromanaging. But it's not really where it's at. It's like anxiety trying to create certainty, right? It's just, it's a lie. Honestly, it's a lie. Influence, on the other hand, influence looks like emotional steadiness, decisiveness. And again, that decisiveness doesn't mean action. I think I said this in the last episode, but I really want to hone in on this. Decisiveness doesn't mean you have to do something. Decisiveness to a dog just means I'm emotionally stable in this situation and we're okay. That's a decision. We're okay. Decisiveness also means timing. It means clarity. It means not overreacting. Right? Many of us have become reactive dogs. We're trying to control reactive dogs by being reactive dogs ourselves. I laugh because I've been there, right? Influence says, I control me. And because I control me, you can organize around that. You can trust me. You can lean in to me. That's leadership. So if you're waiting for your dog to calm down so that you can feel calm, you're still trying to control the dog. So are you ready, my friend, to control yourself instead? Because that's the invitation. That's the invitation to all the work that we do here, all the things that we talk about here on the podcast. That is definitely the invitation to come to the Calm Down Dog Bootcamp. I should have called it Calm Down, Brenda Bootcamp. Calm down, Brenda Bootcamp. Poor Brenda. Brenda's probably on the other end of this podcast being like, hey, what did I do? I just made that word up. Brenda was the first word that came to mind. Okay, it's an invitation. Okay, so no shame, no shame, no shame, no shame, no shade. Just clarity. Okay. And I will say that this can feel strange. It can feel like you're doing a lot less, and it can feel like you're not doing enough, and it can feel uncomfortable when you start to lean into this. But influence grows in this space that you're creating. Okay? If you haven't heard the doing less episode, go back and listen to the doing less episode because it's important. Okay? So again, if you're hearing this in the proper order, in the proper time, and you still have time to come and join us inside the Calm Down Dog Bootcamp. Calm down, Brenda. No, I'm stuck on that. Hopefully a Brenda shows up and then she can tell me off when we go. She's like, hey, I'm Brenda. I'm coming to this boot camp. Okay. We're definitely going to be practicing this in the boot camp. Okay. Not control, influence, 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 influence. So you don't have to know if you're ready. You can actually, if you're like, I'm not sure if this is for me, come to the boot camp. You can toe dip in the boot camp. Okay. Toe dip in the boot camp. If you're ready to join that boot camp, go to beyondobedience.ca/bootcamp. And I will see you there. I'm really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about this. And I've lived it. Ask me about Lexi in the boot camp. Say, tell me more about Lexi. I say it too with a curled lip and not, it's funny. It's funny to me now because I do remember being very, very frustrated by Lexi and her energy. And I would say things like, this is why I like noofs, they're calmer, they're just naturally whatever, blah, 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 blah. But now I say it almost as a like, oh, Lexi taught me so much. Like I can put myself back into the frustration, but also then that realization, that realization when you're like, oh no, it's me. The dog that pointed that out to you and you're like, oh, right. Anyway, that's the story of Lexi. And that is Nelson's. If it's not famous, it should be famous, right? Control yourself and influence the dog. Don't try to control the dog. The more time, the more effort you put into controlling that dog, the more resistance you're going to get. It is so much easier to live with a dog that isn't fighting your control. When we understand them at that level, when we really get to know our dogs and we really start to see them for who they are and all of the beauty that they are, and we really start to actually not only see them, but live with them, recognize the invitation. That's for me the big thing. I recognize the invitation now all the time. All the time. The invitation to join them in their world. It's so beautiful. It's just such a beautiful ask. And quite often we don't even either see it or we shut the door on it. And we try to control them. And it's just a fight you don't want. When we stop fighting, everything else gets easier. That's all I'm going to say about that. That's all I'm going to say about that. Come to the boot camp. Come to the boot camp, friend. It'll be fun. You'll like it. Tell your friends. Come to the boot camp. Bring a friend. You might win a t-shirt. That's what sometimes I go to things just for the t-shirts. You might win a t-shirt at the boot camp. Come to the boot camp. It'll be fun. All right. I think that's it, my friend. So listen, if you like this kind of thing, can you do me a favor? Head on over to Apple. Leave a 5-star written review over there. If you're not on Apple, go to Spotify. Leave me a comment and rate over there. All of that stuff does help to push this podcast out to more and more dog lovers like you and I. And that's the whole goal. The whole goal. As always, my dog-loving friend, get out there today. Be the person that your dog thinks you are, because your dog thinks that you're amazing, and so do I. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next episode. Bye for now. Oh, And one more thing, this podcast is meant for entertainment and education purposes only and is not meant to replace hands-on professional training. If you're really struggling with your dog, please reach out to a professional in your area. All right, I think that's it. Bye for now.